So we've talked about calories, the numbers, the science behind it, right? What is a deficit, maintenance, surplus, BMR, all those numbers. But I want to explain it in a way that actually makes sense, that's applicable, because it can still be very overwhelming, right? You know the science, but it's like, well, how does that translate to real world? Because I just want to eat. I want the treats when I want them. I want to eat the serving sizes I want. How can I view that in a way? And I'm a big analogy person, and some of these worked really well for me. So I'm hoping this helps you understand the number you have and why we want to hit it, right? So a little bit different conversation. Let's imagine a bank account. Okay, I give you $2,000 for a day, and you got to spend all of it. Well, it's money, it's cash, right? Of course you're going to spend all of it. So when you get that 2,000, right, it's gone by the end of the day. You're going to find a way to spend all 2,000. So usually first you think of the very first thing that you've wanted and you wanted the most. Maybe it's a pair of shoes, right? So you buy the shoes. Well, what's next most important? Maybe a bag, maybe a plane ticket to California, maybe I don't know, a dinner, you pay off a bill, right? Whatever you want to do with that $2,000. And then as it gets closer to the end, let's say you have 200 left and you're like, you know what? The item I want now is $250. Maybe I'll return this one, right? So then I can buy this one. I've got a few extra left. Then I get maybe a drink and a treat at the store or a dinner or whatever it is that you want to do, right? Spend it on someone else. But you're going to make sure to spend all $2,000. It's the same thing with our calories. So let's say I give you 2,000 calories for the day. You have to spend all 2,000. Now the problem is we have ingrained in our mind, the less we eat, the more body fat we'll lose. So if I give you 2,000 and you're like, well, I'm not hungry, or I'm going to skip a meal, and I'm going to feel better because I'm going to lose more body fat. Your body doesn't work that way, as we talked about before, where your body has a certain number of calories you must have to sustain life. That, right, it makes your heart beat and pump, your digestion work, your eyelids, things that we don't have control over, all within our body. You need enough calories for that. And then in addition, right, we need calories for our movement. And so when I give you, let's say, a number of 2,000 calories a day, that includes that number, right, of just bodily function we need enough energy for, and then also your movement and your exercise. So everything's already been accounted for. So in that 2,000 calorie, if you go less and decide I only want to spend 1,500 of those calories, just like it'd be spending 1,500 of cash, right? That's leaving 500 extra calories on the table that you can't get back. You can't give them over the next day, right? They're gone by the end of the day. But the problem is that does more harm to your body, right? The number that we give you, you need to try to hit every day, because otherwise we get too far in a deficit and then we're gonna have a really hard time building muscle. We're gonna have a hard time regulating our hormones. You're gonna feel never full. We're gonna have a harder time losing body fat, right? Because your body's gonna hold on to that because it's like, hey, I don't know where that's gonna come from. So keep in mind the same analogy. If you have 2,000 calories, I'm giving you the liberty to say, eat all of them. I want you to eat all of these, right? So whatever your number is, you gotta really try hard to hit those numbers. Because again, it already includes your movement, your exercise, and your deficit if your coach gives it to you. And if anything, maybe even a surplus. So when you have those, the calories, think of them the same way as your money, right? Pick the most important thing to you out of the day. To me, that's my treat. I want something yummy every day. I don't ever feel guilty about it. So I decide I take that out of those calories first, just like I would with money. And then I go to the next thing. Usually it's my protein. So my protein powder or protein bar. I deduct that. So now I'm at maybe 1,600 calories, right? Same concept as the cash. And then I'm gonna spend dinner and lunch. And maybe I'll get to breakfast and be like, I want a higher calorie breakfast. Okay, so that means that I need to spend on my snacks, will be a little bit lower calorie to accommodate for the higher breakfast. Or if you're pre-logging all your meals, which we'll talk about in another video also, is you assign the food the night before. So then if you're assigning it the night before and you get down to your breakfast, you're like, you know what? I want a higher calorie breakfast. Just like the items, we return to the store, we're gonna pull that lunch out and put another lunch in place that's lower calorie so you can have a higher calorie breakfast. So you get the ability, if you plan the night before, where all your meals and calories are gonna be spent, which I'll suggest later, right? You can pick and choose how you wanna spend those 2,000 calories for the day. Planning the night before is gonna set you up for success. You're not gonna graze throughout the day. You know exactly what you're eating and that everything you eat fits in those calories. So we've gotta just think, right? I gotta hit my 2,000. Now I understand life happens. We get sick. You're not gonna wanna eat when you're sick, right? Maybe traveling, you're in an airplane, you're not in an ability to eat as much. So many reasons, stress, busy day. You just, oh my gosh, I skipped 2 meals. I didn't even realize it. Now that's okay. That's life happening because the next day you're more than likely going to eat again. Overall 7-day time period, we want to make sure that we overall are hitting our calorie goal, that we're not too far over or not too under. Another way to think of this, let's say for ease of numbers, let's say, and it's not this for anybody, but I give you 1,000 calories to eat a day just to make numbers easy. So you have 1,000, from Sunday, Monday to Saturday. That's a total of 7,000 calories by the end of the week. So as long as by the end of the week, that 7,000 calories is just about met, you can make some discrepancies throughout the week. So if on Tuesday, I know I've got a big event, I'm gonna want maybe a piece of cake or a bigger serving size, or I'm gonna have a huge lunch and a huge dinner, or maybe you want a fun meal and you're going for pizza and soda with your family, right? Or maybe it's a healthier meal, but there's a lot of calories in that salad that you want, right? So Tuesday, you're gonna go over your calories. You're gonna have maybe 1,400 calories instead of your goal of 1,000, hypothetical numbers. Well, then the next day, I just eat a little bit less, right? So instead of hitting 1,000, I maybe hit 800 because they're balancing out from day to day. So just know if you have super high days, that's fine. Enjoy the meals. You want a healthy relationship with your food. You're gonna be eating for the rest of your life. Have a good relationship with it. Nothing you can do about it. Enjoy the experience. And the next day, just eat a little bit less. Or in a day, if you know that, hey, I've got a big dinner coming up, it's gonna be pretty high calorie. Might even want a drink with it. It's gonna be 1,000 calories, 800 calories. It's gonna be a huge meal, right? So then you just eat a little bit less. So if I know I have a big meal coming up or a treat that's gonna require a lot of calories, I'll have a smaller breakfast, a smaller lunch, maybe skip a snack, and then have all of my calories at the end of the day. Now that's not what I'm gonna do every day, but you can just think ahead of, just like with your bank and the money, you move things around, right? You look at all of it, because with cash, you're gonna find a way to get the most out of that money, and that's what we're gonna do with the calories also. So now why tracking can be an important tool, right, is we gotta know where our 2,000 calories are. So let's say, go back to the money issue, if I have $2,000 and I'm just spending and spending and spending, not keeping track of the receipts, and I get towards the end of the day and I'm like, well, how much is left? I don't wanna lose any because it's cash, but I also don't wanna go over, right? Because then I'm gonna get in trouble for going over. So I don't know where I am. So we estimate. How do I feel? Well, I'm pretty sure that I kept on track. There's no way to be able to go back and actually identify how much you have spent. It's a shot in the dark, right? And that makes sense when you think about that, right? Because if I have 300 left to spend, I want to know so I can spend it. But if I've only got $5 left and I'm going to get in trouble and maybe receive less money the next day or whatever punishment that would be in this hypothetical situation, I don't want to go over, right? That's the same concept with our calories. If you're not tracking and you really want to be in a fat loss goal, right? So you're in a deficit for fat loss goal and it's important to you, you're determined to make this happen, you're very consistent. If we're not using tracking calories, I don't care about the macros, the carbs and fats, but just the calories and protein, we don't have a clue where we are in the day. Because I can tell you most of the clients, and when I do this myself, I think and feel like I'm on target. I'm eating cleaner, healthier foods versus a lot of treats. Well, they have the same amount of calories. Calories a calorie. You can gain body fat by eating very, very healthy, right? As long as we're in a surplus of eating too much of that food and we're over that 2,000 mark. So we've got to be very cautious of, I've got 2,000 calories for the day. I'm gonna hit all of them, right? Because that's how I feel good. I keep my hormones balanced. I don't have crashes in the middle of the afternoon. I'm gonna put on muscle, change the shape of my body, right? Sleep better at night. Gotta hit those calories. But on that same token, we can't go over, right? And that's where, like I said, tracking comes into play because you know exactly where, back to the money, your receipts are. So you know how much you have and how much you've got left, where you've used. You have an idea of what you're doing, right? Because it's easy to put on body fat because it's easy to overeat, right? But then the bonus of that, on those days that you have more calories, is you're just gonna go towards building more muscle. So that's a good thing. But if body fat loss goal is an important goal to you, then you don't have to track constantly. Like I said, just start with protein and calories. And then if you decide, yeah, I don't even really like doing that, just know that it's gonna be hard to stay within your 2,000 if you're not aware of what we're putting in our mouth or the serving sizes. So if you've gotten to a point to where you really know your habits, you really know the foods, how they line up, the serving sizes, you feel really comfortable, then we can do other things like there's meal tracking where you look at the size of the protein, right? And the carbs, and you compare like fats to the size of your thumb and something to the size of your palm. There's other ways you can do without actually entering numbers. They're effective, but not as accurate, obviously, as weighing something out and actually seeing what does this food, right, weigh and basically take out of my 2,000 calories. So please keep in mind that if something is a struggle for you in knowing how much you eat or binge eating or eating out or just having no idea where, which is when I first started, I had no concept of what I was eating. It could have been 1,500 or 4,000. I just ate as I wanted to. I didn't understand the meals and how calorie dense they were. So the breakfast I love, I had no idea that a white plain bagel covered in cream cheese, like not even low fat, but cream cheese, and then a raspberry jam homemade that had so much sugar in it, and I caked that raspberry jam on. I'd have one, like a full one, and then sometimes I'd toast another one. So it was like 4 halves. And I remember saying to this gal that was a coach, how come I'm not losing body fat? She's like, well, just walk me through your breakfast. And so I said, well, I love it. Still one of my favorites. I haven't had it in years though. A bagel with cream cheese and homemade raspberry jam I made. And she's like, stop. Do you know how many calories when you have, 4 halves of those are? And I'm like, yeah, and I have it with a glass of orange juice. Oh my goodness, like the sugar content and how many calories you're having. That's not how you want to start your breakfast. That's a very high calorie breakfast. And then when you tell me how high calorie your lunch is and high calorie your dinner is, I had no idea. That's what put me over. I just didn't know. It was delicious and it was food and I enjoyed it. So that's the process of tracking is just a tool. There's no right, wrong, good or bad emotion attached to it. It's just a tool that you can choose to use or not. If you really, really, really want to lose body fat or make sure that you're eating enough and you really want to put on muscle, you have to know how much you're eating. And awareness of all the calories and how fast they add up is a really important deal. So if it helps you think of it in the way of cash, how would you spend cash? You would have receipts, you would follow up with it. You know that it runs out at the end of the day. Same concept with your calories, and that helps me kind of pick and choose. If I want this snack and I look at the back of the label and the bar is 250 calories, I know I only have 2,000 and I have enough calories that there's only 800 left. If I eat this for 250 calories, then I can't have this later. And that means I'm gonna have to have less at dinner. I'd rather eat more at dinner if I'm not gonna eat the calorie bar, the protein bar. So it's really helpful. And when we look at, if I have this, can I still fit this, right? If I choose 500 calories for this treat, that only leaves me 400 for the rest of the day. And so it's just a matter of literally budgeting. That's all that it is. Think of money and how you would budget. You can't buy the shoes and the purse and the expensive leggings. Which would you rather have? Now, we all want all of them. There's an emotional response to all of them. Sometimes even an addiction, or I have to have this color. I don't have this color, right? An emotional attachment to buying things. Same thing with food. But just like when we run out of cash, the bank doesn't give us more because we ask for it nicely. We have a certain amount of calories that our body needs to feel good and to be healthy and move its best. And then again, we drop it a little if you're in a deficit. So you have to know where those are. And like I said, you have to do it for a track, at least for a couple days, just to see where you are, how far off you are, whether over or under or right on. But then you can decide, you know what, I'm really bad at this. This is an awesome tool, tracking just calories and protein. And if you want to do carbs and fats later, because you're good, good and in place, you can do that. Fantastic. But it really will help keep you in the confines of knowing how much to eat. And then you can make a really good assessment of, do I want one cookie or two? Well, I'll have one, and that even though I want two, and I would have had two yesterday, but now that I see how few calories I have left on this side, because I'm looking at the balances as with receipts maybe, as we can use the example in comparison, I don't want two because then I can't eat this later. Okay, I'll be fine with one, then I'll have this later also. And so it's just a matter of how you view it in your head. So I hope that helps, right? Stepping back from how the numbers actually work, but how we should view it so it makes more sense so you can hit that number, feel good, and also reach your goals.